Hey, all right, shooting from the hip as always, publicly. I just got back from my workout and I'm going to do an unfiltered here, talking about change and how we could create it and sort of what I've struggled with going through it. So it's kind of like a journal dump. So here we go, right? Um, my whole life, like this is not, I haven't pre planned any of this. I'm just literally going to go for this here. My whole life, I have had the habitual pattern of neurotically obsessing over the things that I want or the things I don't have or the lack in my life. Um, Even still to this day, it'll creep in. One of the cool things that I love to teach that I think is really like takes the pressure off a little bit. Like we're human, right? So you're never going to be perfect. You're never going to be completely awake or completely evolved 100%. Never. And what I aim for myself and with my clients, my crew, is can we get those moments of fear or panic or anxiety or depression or any of those things that don't feel great down to minutes instead of taking over your life? And my whole life, I have been like, it's been months. It was like months, days, weeks of neurotically obsessing, or the majority of my day being in my head and worrying and stressing and anxiety. And like, I experience intense anxiety where it just becomes like a whole dialogue, like my little wild stallion ego goes way off on me. Now I'm in the habit of like most of the time, not always, catching it and being like, okay, whoa. And I look at it like a little scared bunny because like this is like my inner child here. Like a scared bunny of like, okay, it's okay. We don't have to do that anymore. I know it's scary, but we're gonna try anyways, and we're just gonna trust anyways. Um, so this week, so the last bit of February and the first few days of March in 2022 have been a really fucked up energy for us. And I don't like to always blame energy for my issues. It's really easy to do that though. But it's been yucky and sticky and heavy, and it's been like really big highs and then real big lows. And I've noticed that like when I was leaving Costa Rica, I shared in one of the other videos, like, oh my gosh, like my fear of driving the unsafe car was just like in my head the whole time. And I really had to navigate myself into like letting that go. And then since then, there's just been these moments of like self-doubt. Um, I love what I do and I know I'm real good at it, but self-doubt of like what's next and who's next and what's going to come in and where do I put my focus and I went crazy with that for a little bit, caught it yesterday, and then had this like crazy download about change yesterday, which was really transformative for me. And my meditations have not been great lately. I've been falling asleep for like probably 2 weeks now, getting in and having like, oh, like these moments and then crashing out hard and falling asleep. So I've been frustrated with my meditations. Tried a different position yesterday. I was sitting up, which I don't like doing because I have like an uncomfortable back sometimes. So I was like sitting up and I was like, okay, all right. I'm like talking to my set of masters and being like, oh, I need direction. I need to know what fucking steps next. And I then started laughing at myself because like that's not how it works. If you go into anything trying, you're in fear. You're in fear of not receiving. And I know that I've been kind of residing more in fear over the last little while than in thriving. Just the last like week. So yeah, it's been one hell of a journey. And so let's talk about change and how to create change in your life and like what does it really look like, right? So one of the things that came through, I had like this little flashback on my life, and I my body experiences, I don't have, my body experiences a really rare autoimmune disorder that can like put me in a wheelchair. It's been one hell of a journey with that And that was my excuse for so long. For so long. I've had cancer twice. Um, Not like crazy, like totally healable, removable, whatever. Um, but I used all of those things as my excuse to not create the change that I wanted in my life. And I wanted it, guys. Like, I would sit and, like, man, oh man, I would spend hours sitting and brainstorming and visualizing and feeling and trying to create this change in my life through just the visualization and the feeling, which is like step one of manifestation, of creating change. And I couldn't take accountability for the crutches I was leaning on. So I used to blame my unwell stuff for being overweight, for not being able to do and live a life like everybody else, for having to rest a little bit more. And those, like, to some degree, yeah, but it literally was my crutch. And I remember going through a phase of like Instagram. I had to walk with a cane for a little bit, and it was like leopard print, obviously. But I remember like sharing pictures of the cane and like self victimizing, basically, is what I was doing. Um, Putting it out there, and like this crazy cool thing happens, not so cool. Whatever you put out, you are going to be receiving. So anything you post on social media is you're going to have people attaching to that. I think I've said this in one of the other videos, where the ones who love you are going to worry about you. So they're going to send worry and hope, which is like a 50-50 frequency, hope. So you're magnifying your own vortex by receiving those things, as well as pushing out, like, "Ah, look at me. I was really sad about mine." I'm not saying everybody is. I was real sad about mine. So I use those excuses forever. And then, yeah, and then I figured it out mostly. So I started really working towards change and being like, okay, what does this actually mean? Because the truth is, like, anything that you're trying or striving for is coming from a place of fear of not attaining. So it's like allowing and being change. So my download yesterday, right? A second cup of coffee because I get up way too early to go to the gym. Um, so I started asking myself a few months ago, now probably about 4 or 5 months ago, all right, what change do I want to be? And I had this powerful conversation with one of my girls yesterday, one of my clients, who we were talking about being present. And we were talking about um, like what it's like along this journey. One of the funny things she said to me was like, I am loving these raw videos. I had you up on this pedestal. I thought that you were like, rah, oh my gosh, here's this. I just changed it. I'm like, fuck no, I'm a human, man. Um, so that was really funny. But creating change and being present with it. So think about something that you really want in your life right now. And for me, I want a really strong body. I want my body to be vital. I want high energy. That's my focus right now. And so think about that. And I want you to visualize that, as I have been visualizing mine for years, let me tell you. And the thing is like we sort of put ourselves into that future state of, when that happens, I'm going to be so happy. And we don't come here now. So we're really not being present. The only thing that exists is here now. An hour ago does not exist. An hour from now does not exist. It's right here, right now. We think about bringing in financial flow, or bringing in love, or body change, or um, a more fulfilling family environment, or soul purpose, or career advancement, or whatever. We're always looking to what it will be and not bringing it here and now. So, one of the things I did yesterday, and I love this, I walked around the house. I had like a couple of hours to myself yesterday in the house, which is like, oh God, so good. Like, I need my alone time. So I had a couple of hours. So I started like kind of pacing around the house and looking at my life and recognizing that 20-year-old me, or 30-year-old me even, would have done anything, absolutely anything, to be and have and live the way I do right now. So I took a few moments to walk around and look at my life and my crazy, quirky office with all my unicorn stuff and Fred. Um, Fred, Heather, and Robert. Um, so I just took a couple of minutes to like absorb what I have here and now. And the one thing I know for fact is when you can see what you have that's associated with the thing you want, when you can see what you have, it enhances your ability to bring that in. And we know this, right? We hear this all the time. But how do we really do that? How do we really get centered into that space and allow more manifestation or more expansion? So it's like looking at what you do have. And so I started walking around, and our house is real cute. Um, it's very like a beautiful blend of Corey and I together. Probably more so me because there's lots of purple. But um, yeah, I was like, all right, like I have a lot of freedom. I have a lot of freedom. And I started looking at like the way we've put together our home and how cute it is. And I was looking at our pets and how cute they are, even literally walking crazy, but they're cute. I'm not a cat lover, but I have two, and I love them, but they're crazy. Ooh. Um, and I just started absorbing like, okay, this might not be the big, huge vision that I thought I would have. You know, like I have big dreams. Like I want like a big headquarters for the company. I want like a really swanky condo or a cottage, or these are things I thought I wanted until yesterday. And I was like, okay, like I'm always like, what's next? What's next? What's next? Instead of being like here. So just walking around and taking that in, like brought me this space of contentment, gratitude, and then trust started to like from my heart. Um, and just put me in this like really happy state of it's evolution. And you can't force a garden to grow. You can just plant and you can admire what you have and you can nurture what you have. If you're planting this big, beautiful garden, you're not going to ignore the things that have grown because you want these other plants to take place. You're nurturing the things that are there. So that's what I really like put my focus on yesterday and today, hopefully forever moving forward for the most part. Um, Looking at what do I have right now and how can I really get into appreciation and gratitude and acknowledgement of those things. So that shifted me a little bit, which was wonderful, let me tell you, because I was like all up in my headspace. Um, and then kind of the download was, what excuses are you using right now? And I reflected on the excuses that I've used in the past for a lot of things. When it comes to creating, I'm doing a whole live on Saturday morning about this, but when it comes to creating, the first step is you have to believe what it is that you're creating in your life. You have to believe that you're worthy and that you can receive it. So you have to make it something that you actually believe you can have. The other piece with that belief is you have to look at your limiting beliefs and where do I have blockages on that? Because your belief structure is what is going to initiate that manifesting process. The step after that, like you can go down, so it's like there's 5 predominant steps in manifestation, but one of the steps near the tail end is 5% action. It's just 5%. That's it. You don't have to like build the thing. Just 5% action. And so how can you drop your excuses and take 5% action towards it? And also like side note, you have to know what you want, right? So one of the things, like I'm just going to use my working out, for example, I really do want a strong body. It's not about dress size for me. I'm kind of over that. It's not about being more youthful, although let me tell you, my eyelids, like, they're driving me nuts. Don't look for the things you don't want to see. But it's like, I want a strong body because when my body is strong, my mind is strong. When my mind is strong, my vibration is stronger. And it lets me be the best possible self. So I really want that strong body. So a couple months ago, I was like, all right, I need to create change. So it's at 5%. So visualize, what does it feel like to be proud of yourself creating that change? Not the end goal. What does it feel like to know that you are in the flow of evolution or change with it? Start with that. And then there's a couple steps, and then your 5% action. So I started going to the gym a few months back. And you know, at first I was like, all right, I'll like do this and then I'll do that and then I'll do this. And then I pulled my quad really bad. Because I started running like who runs? I don't know what I was thinking. Um, and then that was my excuse to like take it easy for a bit. And then it was like, well, I just want this part of my body changed. Oh. And anyways, what's happened now is like the gym's really busy. I'm in like a little city, so it's super swamped. So if I want this change, I have to get up early and go to the gym before it's busy for the equipment that I want to use. So the change that I've made is getting up at 6 o'clock, 5:30 in the morning to go. Um, that's my 5% change and go. And then the amount of shift that that's had in my life is confidence. I'm proud of myself. I feel accomplished. I feel fulfilled because I'm taking care of my body. So it changes all my frequency by just this one sacrifice, this one drastic change. Because I'm not a morning person. Nope. Don't like it. Don't want to see morning. Don't enjoy it. Um, so it doesn't have to be fitness, but I want you to think about like life. Where do you want to create change? And what change can you be? You have to become the change. Um, yeah. So like where can you adjust yourself? And we can fully adjust. What excuses are you holding on to? Where can we let go of our excuses? Where can we step in a little bit more for ourselves? Um, so yeah, that's kind of where I'm at right now. Well, that's all about fitness by any means, like, well, but creating change. And with that, like, there's a lot of changes coming for me this year because I've aligned with them. But some of them are great, some of them are a little challenging. But yeah, like, what do you want to create in your life? Like, hit me with the comments. What do you want to create? And you got to believe that you can attain that. So start with something small. So if you have this great big goal of stepping into soul purpose, let's use that. Then how can do you believe that you're worthy of bringing something to the world? And what thing can you start with that 5% in bringing that 5% to the world, whether that's through conversations with friends or being your own product? That's a huge one. And believing that you understand and that you are the expert at your life. Soul purpose is always two things. Soul purpose is whatever you're most passionate about. Mine is being of service. Mine is watching people change their lives drastically. Love it. So that's one part. What are you most passionate about? And then what have you endured on this planet? Because whatever you've endured is what you're meant to bring clarity to. It's what you're meant to bring to the world. We don't go through all that heavy shit for no reason. It's part of your purpose. Mine was like when it started with limiting beliefs, like I was the queen of self-sabotage and limits. Really crazy childhood, but crazy, actually my whole freaking life. But anyways, tremendous amount of emotional, physical, sexual abuse, tremendous amount of all those things. And feeling like I was the odd one. Like I remember being 12 and my parents had, this is sort of when I was full time with both my parents for the first time. My parents had decided to become Jehovah's Witnesses. And I wanted to be the good girl and be accepted. So I was like, all about Jehovah on. I'm like, okay, let's do this. And really like dove in to like impress them because I wanted to be loved. But I remember being on we had a big hill in our backyard, and the dog's pen was at the top of the hill, and I'd have to take the dogs out for their last bathroom break at night and bring them back in. And so I'm waiting for the dogs to take their shit. We had two Great Danes with a lot of poo. And I'm standing there and I'm looking at the stars, and I remember being like, what the fuck? Like looking up and being like, you can't tell me that there's like a God and that the majority of the population has it wrong. You cannot tell me this. And I'm not anti-religion. I believe all faith is beautiful in its own unique way. Um, but how can the majority of the population have this wrong if there's only a God? And maybe God reflects himself in many different ways. Maybe he showcases himself in many different cultures in order for everybody to find that freedom. I remember thinking that and looking up at the stars. And then that's when Max, my first descendant master, really started channeling in. And then I thought I was like schizophrenic. So I was terrified to tell anyone, and just like crazy scared of all of it. But it was there and it was so relevant in my life. And so I thought that I was crazy. And I remember, like, probably up until 20, thinking I was crazy, being terrified to tell anyone that I could have these conversations because I didn't want to be put into a ward, or put on heavy medication. And so I really battled that for a long time. And that prevented me from everything, man. Like I had zero confidence, well up until probably 30. Um, and even though I was teaching it, I hadn't really become it. It's all different now, but it was hard. And feeling like I didn't belong. I was the odd duck. I was fucking crazy. And I was super skinny and bullied all the time for being underweight. Um, I would get some physical abuse that would leave bruises on my body. So I'd have to like cover up and try to hide my body. And like hide everything from the world because I was so conditioned that if the teachers found out that there was physical abuse, then I would get taken away and I wouldn't be safe. I was afraid that if anybody knew I was talking to Max or that I believed in aliens, I was going to be taken away. So I did everything in my power to fit in and be accepted and stay small. And then that led to a tremendous amount of unwell stuff in my body and prevented me from, then it became my excuses, right? Like, couldn't do it. Had no backbone, had no voice, and just in a pit of despair. Very depressed, crazy, obnoxious anxiety, crazy anxiety, terrified of everything. Like to a point where I remember like 1 year after I had my daughter, I couldn't even leave the house. I was afraid, one, I was going to get judged for my body because now I had gained weight. And then two, that something devastating was going to happen. So I hid away for a whole year in my house. What felt like a year, it might have been 8 months or so, but it took me forever to find my rhythm of letting go of all of that. And so I'm sharing that because one, I want you to self-evaluate, like check in, check yourself. Where are your excuses? Where are you limiting yourself? Where are you saying that doesn't exist? Love doesn't exist. Good. There's no good men out there. There's no good women out there. Or dating's hard or love is hard. When you check yourself. And I want that conversation to stop. Second piece, you are not alone in stressing out or worrying or looking or seeking or desiring or aching for. You're not alone. We all go through it. And the beautiful thing is when you can get it down to minutes, not your entire experience, right? So you can get there, whether you want love, soul purpose, whatever it is. You want to make a baby? If you have a desire, it's because you're meant to experience it. And you just got to remove those limiting beliefs. And then you've got to begin. What's that 5% change? What's the story? Even if you only start with changing the story, And then try to get here and now, being really present here and now. Um, Real present. Like, what can you do to really anchor yourself in this moment, in appreciation for this moment, even though there may be lack? It's part of a journey. And go back to that garden analogy. You may have one plant that's really blossoming. You're not going to ignore it and just try to grow the other stuff. You still are going to nurture that thing. So admire that thing, that plant, nurture that plant, be with that plant as everything else starts to come to fruition for you. And end scene. Welcome to my TED Talk. No, I journaled out. Yeah, so there's that. Hopefully that helps or resonates. And if not, that's okay too. It was Sharon. Just Sharon. All right, I'm gonna go finish my coffee and get a shower in so that I can start with my clients. And just know that you're needed on this planet. And remember, you are, oh, babe, you are so much stronger than you know. You are so much more capable than you know. Don't lose faith in that. And do some journaling in and around what have I gone through? Sometimes it's hard. What have I gone through? And what can I do with that? Because there's something in it for you. There's something in it for the world. And there is guaranteed one woman or one man or one child that needs to hear your story, that needs to know that you are conquering, that you are moving through, because that's going to be the inspiration for them to do the same. And I promise you that that's the case. So don't lose sight of that. All right. Love you guys.